welcome to a new video interview at Choconet Gaming News. And as you know, Supergroup, the company behind a leading global sports betting operators such as Betway and the multi-brand online casino Spin, has just seen its debut on the New York Stock Exchange as a public company. And today we have the privilege to be speaking with Supergroup President Richard Hasson and a new board member of Supergroup, Sean Collins. We'll be starting with Richard. So thank you, Richard, for taking the time to speak with us today. And of course, congratulations on this new milestone for the company.
Thanks, Juan. Great to be here. Great to see you again. And thank you for the wishes. This is a great milestone for the business and for our global team that's been working together for many years to get to this point. And of course, now we say the real work starts. We have a very exciting chapter ahead of us and continuing to grow and deliver on our strategy now as a public company.
That's very exciting. And well, maybe you can share with us some initial feedback and numbers of these first hours. I know it's too early, but maybe their first impressions from this. You've just gone live on Friday, and today we were having this interview on Monday, so it's a very short period. But maybe you can have your first feedback.
Yeah, I think as I say, it's a very exciting time for the business. It's been over 2 decades of building the business across the world, numerous teams, tirelessly over 20 plus years, and really last Friday there was a culmination of all of that work coming together. And now, as the business moves from being a privately owned business into a publicly traded business, that's going to give us a platform to continue to deliver on our strategy and on our growth across the world.
Yeah, well, and in terms of the impact this will have in your business, maybe your short-term goals and expectations. We had an interview with the CEO Neil Menashe last year, and he said that this was a natural fit for your US expansion plans. So which new doors do you think this will open, and how this will boost your growth in the US?
Yeah, I think since we announced the SPAC transaction with Sports Entertainment Acquisition Corp last year, April, really people have become a lot more aware of who the Supergroup is and what we do. And in terms of what doors will it open, for now, people now know who we are. We've been operating the business in many countries, in many markets around the world. And I think this increased knowledge of who we are will open significant doors. If it's commercial relationships, commercial partnerships, the regulators are now more familiar with who we are. We're regulated in many markets around the world. And also perhaps, there's been a lot of organic growth in the business over many years. Being publicly traded gives us access to additional currency, perhaps. That could be used in time if it made sense for potential M&A, if it's bolt-on acquisitions or whatever the case may be. But I really do think it gives us this new platform, enhanced platform, to continue to deliver on our strategy.
Well, and this deal that you announced last year with the SPAC, with Sports Entertainment Acquisition Corporation, the company was valued at nearly $5 billion, and expectations for this year in terms of net gaming revenue and EBITDA are going up compared to 2021. So which segments and developments and jurisdictions do you think that will drive these numbers growth in 2022? And what are the keys in your case to remain profitable business and with a healthy balance sheet?
Sure. So last year we had forecasts of net gaming revenue of north of $1.5 billion. And you may have seen we recently published something where we showed the initial forecast of achieving that. Of course, EBITDA for 2021 still under review given where we are in the calendar. But yeah, in terms of the revenue from last year, strong, and yeah, EBITDA to be confirmed. In terms of 2022, the revenue is forecast at north of $1.7 billion, and the EBITDA at 420 million. And there is going to be growth that comes from new markets. It comes from existing markets. You may have seen we launched, our brands were launched in 9 new markets last year. There's a very healthy pipeline for this year. And it really is a combination of growth in existing markets. It's going back to the core principles of the business. How do we understand our customers as best we can? It's going back to the data that really underpins all components of the business. It's return-driven marketing. It's having as localized a product in every single market that we operate in. And it's also leveraging the expertise and the skills that we have in the business to launch into new markets and then to scale in these markets once we're there. It also comes down to the product, having the best product possible in every market. And when you put all of that together, you would have seen some strong historic growth. And as we continue to execute on our strategy, as we continue to expand our footprint, we will continue to be growing across all these markets. This business is not dependent on any one single region or one single market. We have a very diversified revenue stream. We operate in 26 different languages. We hold licenses in more than 25 different jurisdictions. And it's a constant search of the additional revenue adding on to our existing base and continuing to grow across all these markets.
Well, you have already mentioned some of the key strategies from Supergroup and this proven model that you've been developing in each jurisdiction that you have operations. At Chogonet, we've covered a very significant report from Morgan Stanley last week, which upgraded DraftKings as one of the companies to invest on. And the report, the significant thing there was that Morgan Stanley considered the U.S. sports betting and iGaming market as a very profitable and large and big opportunity, but also a very concentrated market with just a few giant companies and operators taking most of the market share, regardless of how many licenses were in the States. So you've already mentioned some of the keys, but what do you think that specifically will lead the Supergroup to overcome this challenge on a state-by-state basis and capitalize on this such a big opportunity? And in terms of market share, which are your targets?
Sure. So when we look at what our opportunity is, we're not focused on any one country, right? We focus on the global opportunity. There are, H2 has reports out there. The global gaming opportunity is north of $125 billion. For us, that's what we're looking at. Our gross gaming revenue last year is obviously nowhere near that number. We have a lot of upside to grow in many different markets. In terms of the US specifically, that's one opportunity, along with many other countries and other regions that our brands will be launching or already live in. To your question on competition, we've seen competition before. In our view, we focus on what we know. We focus on our products, we focus on our marketing, we focus on our customers, and we focus on our data. And we put that together. We're bringing more than 20 years experience into all new markets that we go into. And we will apply the same principles, the same ethos, the same thinking into the US once Digital Gaming Corporation becomes part of the Supergroup.
That's very clear. Just one final question for you, Richard, and it's about the one of the hot trends in this year, which seems to be the metaverse. And there are some companies in the gambling industry that are already investing in immersive technologies, VR, AR. So it's a good opportunity to ask if Supergroup is already crafting some strategy and investments. Now that you're a public company, maybe you have more access to investment to maybe to be competitive and debut and have an early entry into these new emerging technologies in the gambling industry.
Yeah, I think again, Juan, that's one of many channels that our teams would potentially be looking at. I think when it comes to what we deliver on, we are delivering what our customers are after. It's constantly innovating, it's constantly improving and enhancing our product, depending on which market we're in, and ensuring that every single customer is being provided with the right level of entertainment, using a product that they're happy with. If the metaverse comes into that at some point, that will lead to our product guys and to our country teams in terms of understanding exactly what it is that our customers are.
I understand. Well, maybe we can have John's view. Welcome, John, and congratulations for you too on this milestone. And maybe we can have your own view on any of the topics that we have just discussed with Richard for started.
I just have to tell you how impressed through the entire process Eric and I were with Neil and Richard and the whole team, really. When he very modestly says this was sort of decades in the making, it really was. I mean, you see, the operating scale that Supergroup has, the expertise over 20 years. You see the scale of the business, and ultimately, when we first met these guys, and then ultimately announced the deal in April, Richard had laid out a series of projections which he just went through, and then obviously with the deal not closing until last week, the amazing thing is that Supergroup hit every single one of their projections. Right, so they were a very different type of company to use the SPAC tool as a way to ultimately go public, because they're a real company. They've got the global scale, they're profitable, they make money every day, and as Richard said, they view the capital markets opportunity as one where they can really begin to put the throttle down and do some things that perhaps they weren't able to do, or they were limited in as a private company. So Eric and I are continuing, as you know. Eric's going to be chairman, I'm going to be on the board, and we're excited to do that because we think the best is still to come with Supergroup.
Sure. Well, I can remember CEO Neil Menashe saying that your SPAC, Sports Entertainment Acquisition Corporation, was perfect for Supergroup in this new stage and for this going public, this process. So why would you say that that your company, now you're a board member in Supergroup, but before you were a CEO of this SPAC, why would you say that you were perfect for Supergroup, and which were the factors that led to this milestone?
I would say, look, Eric and I have spent decades in the sports and entertainment space, anchored out of the U.S., right? And so, as Supergroup, and when you looked at, either from our perch at the NFL, where we both worked, or the NHL, or then in subsequent companies like On Location, you looked at what was really going to be the driver of growth, both fan engagement and revenue opportunities at the league and the club and even the broadcaster level. And it really always was going to be gaming, right? It was going to be the online sports betting. And so we didn't signal that when we were launching the SPAC, because frankly, we didn't know that there was a company like Supergroup that existed. And then, you kind of meet Neil and Richard, and you see a company that is coming together in a new way for the first time and being presented, publicly. That is in the process of launching in the U.S. And there's a lot of chemistry between us. I think, Eric is a very unique person in that his skill sets have crossed from M&A at Goldman Sachs to finance and operations at the NFL to being a CEO of a Fortune 500 public company. So he's a perfect fit once you get to see the relationship, that exists between, Neil and Richard and obviously the other primary shareholders. For me, I'm more of an operator. That's what I've done my career. And I have just enormous respect for what Richard and the team have built. They are a machine. And so I'm happy to use any of the relationships or introductions that I can make, particularly in the US, but also in Canada, and to a certain extent because of my relationship with the NHL and getting involved in the Olympics, a little broader into Europe. But these guys don't need a lot of help. They're really very, very good. And I think that one of the things that became obvious, as we moved from introducing the deal in April all the way through, some of the last, we must have had 1,200 different investor meetings and analyst meetings over the course of announcing the deal all the way to the close. Super Group's story never changed in terms of who they were and how they viewed the opportunity and how they were going to begin to execute. What did change, though, was the lens that the capital markets, the investors, really viewed the sector. And so they went from really high growth and valuing that opportunity almost exclusively to really beginning to value, what usually the capital markets value, which is obviously high growth because they still are a high growth company, but profitability. And when you start to look at it through that lens, along with many of the other attributes that Super Group has, control of their own tech stack, it's, decades of experience, global scale, there are not many companies that stand up to Super Group, and certainly not many companies in the capital market that are currently in the capital markets who look like Super Group. So, I share Richard's enthusiasm, and I think that the best is still yet to come for this company.
Well, I think that it's all answered. I was trying to ask you I was willing to ask you if what would be the added value and fresh views that you, as in your new role as board member, you and Eric, which fresh view could they bring to Super Group? But I think that you've already described, both of you. Maybe we can have a final reflection on what would be your approach and contributions from now on in Super Group, and also we all recognize Super Group for its flagship sponsorship in Betway. Betway's sponsorship in West Ham United in the Premier League. So a good question would be, which will be the West Ham in the US, perhaps, as they start expanding in this such a big opportunity market.
Well, the association with intellectual property rights holders, teams, leagues, I think Super Group has demonstrated that they do that really, really well. I know one of the sponsorships that's gotten a lot of attention in North America has been Betway's sponsorship of the National Hockey League Stanley Cup playoffs, where Betway actually was in the ice, which is almost, could you imagine, right, being on the pitch or on the field. So really kind of an innovative approach. I think that's probably the biggest opportunity really to mine in terms of my, what I can hopefully work with Richard on, which is, I think for the leagues and the teams, they're first now sort of sweeping to take as much sponsorship and advertising revenue as they possibly can, because there are so many players who are flush with capital from the public markets. And that's been a bit of the story over the last maybe 12 months. I think as we get into a different type of capital market that doesn't necessarily reward that, I think it'll take a lot more creativity to really begin to figure out how you can truly partner with the leagues and the teams across the sports field, because I think that those individuals, the teams and the leagues, are only just beginning to scratch the surface in terms of, how these relationships can really grow my business. I think one of the huge opportunities that Richard has already identified is the fact that Betway has such global scale. And so as you think about a partnership with, any of the leagues in North America, whether it's the NHL or the NBA or even, frankly, the NFL, that's what they're interested in, right? They want to see how this relationship can help them build their fan base internationally. And I know Betway has a lot of ideas still to come on that end because of their global perspective.
Well, very, very exciting opportunities there. Well, thank you very much, John and Richard, for all your time today and firsthand insights into this new public company in the US. So we'll certainly look forward to catching up soon with more developments on this new era for Super Group. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.